So I'm going to touch on mostly the title of the sermon, which is Living the Questions, because this is, to my mind, one of the greatest gifts that emerges from these letters. But if there's time, I would also love to touch on some other themes, including the themes of life and love, feminine, including the divine feminine, but the feminine. We will discover very shortly that Rilke was a feminist, which is wonderful, and the natural world. So, by way of context, again, remember that he's penning these between 1903 and 1908. And he writes in one of his letters these words: "The leaf is turning like a century is entering." And just at that moment, of course, he's referring to the beginning of the 20th century. And throughout these letters, you can feel his awe and also a troubled sense. He, in some way, is intuiting that something extraordinary and changing in a dramatic and radical way is about to come. And I think he senses it at his very core, because it comes through his writings in these letters. So I'm going to focus first of all on letter 4. And if any of you are thinking of diving into your copy, if you have one, or getting your hands on one, this is the letter that I'm referring to at the very beginning. So it's letter 4. So let me start with an excerpt from that. And remember, he's writing to this young 19-year-old cadet called Capus, who is a would-be poet. Rilke says this: "I ask you, dear sir, to have patience with all that is unresolved in your heart, and to try to love the questions themselves, and love them like closed rooms, like books written in a foreign language. Don't try to find the answers now. They cannot be given anyway, because you would not be able to live them. For everything is to be lived. So live the questions now. And perhaps you then may gradually, without even noticing, one day into the future, live the answers." And this really is the nexus of what I wanted to share with you today. It's an extraordinary thing. We, of course, in our modern 21st century, we live in a consumer-oriented society where we are, whether we want to admit it or not, are looking for answers all the time. And more importantly, the answers, we're looking for solutions. And very often rapid solutions or neat solutions. But here Rilke is saying, live into the questions and then be able to say, I don't know. I have to sit with this. I have to be with it in its unanswered, mysterious way. It's a practice that is not common to our society, as we know, but of course in Buddhism, for example, it's called don't know mind, and in Hinduism it's the concept of be here now, be present to what is, rather than what is not yet. So the practice of holding questions, and, as Rilke says, not just holding them, but loving them, and not fearing them or rushing in to answer them. To put the questions to ourselves in an honest and open way. And as Joanna said in an interview with Krista Tippett and On Being, She said to take the question and to hold it, treasure it, nurture it, and walk with it. And she says, if you are faithful to a question in this way, it will be faithful back. Life, as we know, is not a vending machine. It's a mystery. And when we are prepared to meet and then sit with, and as Joanna Macy said, even to walk with the questions, then we give it room and we allow it to talk. In other words, the invitation that Rilke offers us is to let the questions come towards us. And if we allow that process, then the question has more to say to it, and we have the space to hear it, and we have the capacity. And in this exchange, in this sort of pregnant pause of the don't know, we have the capacity to become something that we've not been yet. If you think of it in a way, it's like the question extending a hand. And we, by extending our hand out into that space of the unknown, is the reciprocity of life. Because, of course, we are in a living, reciprocal world. So Rilke's charge to us is not only must we listen to the question, but in fact, we can listen to questions. The second letter I'd like to touch on is letter number 7. And the reason I've chosen this letter is because it has 3 very interesting themes, all squashed into one letter. And again, I can't possibly do justice to such beautiful wisdom. And by the way, he was only 27, apparently, when he wrote this letter. So it's extraordinary to think such wisdom came through a 27-year-old heart and mind. But he touches on the theme of gender, and of love, and of the need for solitude. So let me very quickly touch on those with you through letter 7. And it's extraordinary to think how this young man in 1903, between 1903 and 1908, was as open and feminist as he was given this era. I'm not going to put my spin on it at all. I'm just going to share with you what he said and let the words land with you as they may. One day, the girl and the woman who don't define themselves in masculine terms, but rather as something in themselves, female humans, will require no other completion. This enormous shift will transform the character of love, which is hampered today by the resistance of men, and generate a relationship from human to human, not from man to woman. And this more human love, endlessly considerate and light and good and clear, consummated by holding close and letting go, will resemble that love that we so arduously prepare. The love that consists of 2 solitudes that protect, border, and greet each other. And so Rilke continues to say in this letter, and I feel that a good summary of it is this, that he talks about love and he says love between any couple, any relationship is not about merging. It's rather what he calls a noble calling, And that calling is that you are calling the individual with whom you are in relationship with to ripen, to differentiate, and to become a world in and of itself. How beautiful. What a beautiful understanding of any kind of love relationship. And it's clear when you read these letters that Rilke himself, having been in several relationships, including one key relationship with a woman called Lou, speaks an enormous amount about solitude. And so I just wanted to finish letter 7 with you by just touching on that, because again, it's something that we don't always offer ourselves in this busy, hectic, schedule-driven world of ours. And by solitude, I don't mean loneliness. I mean mindful, aware time for oneself. He says, allow solitude to give you that moment in which something within you wants to emerge. He says that solitude will help us to expand. And these are his words. People are drawn to the easy and the easiest side of the easy. But it is clear that we must hold ourselves to the difficult, as it is true for everything alive. Everything in nature grows and defends itself in its own way and against all opposition, straining from within at any price to become distinctively itself. So it is good to be solitary, because solitude is difficult, but therefore it's even more of a reason for us to undertake it. And let me finish my sharing with you today, not from the letters to a poet, but also I deliberately took it from another of his writings, because in the letters you'll realize that as a young man, and especially in relationship with this woman called Lou, who was older than him and clearly someone very connected to the natural world, she, I think, took him out of his sort of post-Victorian stiffness and allowed him to be emerged in the beauty and the rawness and the openness of nature itself. And this had a profound impact on him as a person, but also as a writer. So on that note, I'd like to close with just a tiny excerpt from something that he wrote in the Duino Elegies. And it's the 9th one, in case anyone, I know that there's great note takers amongst us. So this is the number 9. And again, his words, not mine. Earth. So he's speaking to Earth. Earth, isn't this what you want? To arise in us, invisible. Is it not your dream to enter us so wholly that there's nothing left outside us to see? What, if not transformation, is your deepest purpose? See, I live. On what? Childhood and future are equally present. Sheer abundance of being floods my heart. And as we can see in the letters, and as we know from almost every faith tradition, every sacred works, that we are called to be grateful for our world, to teach ourselves and to remind ourselves to see beauty and learn in an ever greater measure how to treasure it, how to celebrate it, how even if it's to disappear in some measure, to be grateful for what it is and what it has been. And as Joanna Macy said in a beautiful recording I heard, she regularly says, "Thank you, mountains. Thank you, rivers. Thank you, flowers, water, air, birds. Thank you, life." And thank you.
If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.